Calling the meeting to order. Item number 1 is approval of the draft agenda. Any changes to the agenda as circulated? If not, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda, please? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Agenda is approved. Item number 2, review and approval of the draft minutes of the September 3rd meeting of the committee. Any changes to the minutes of September 3? If not, all those in favor indicate. Oh, move. Yeah. Moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Item number 3, update from the clerk. Kate, floor is yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, members. I appreciate this opportunity to provide you with a brief update on some administrative work and activities that is currently underway during this busy time of year. With the only 5 sitting days left in the fall sitting period, a number of departments have been hard at work to support proceedings in the House and in committee, and I wanted to acknowledge and thank the hardworking teams that have sustained us through these proceedings, including some hybrid connectivity over the past few weeks. I wanted to acknowledge and thank the hardworking team from Hansard Services, the Parliamentary Committee's office, Sergeant-at-Arms team, IT, for keeping us all connected, the Parliamentary Dining Room for keeping us all well fed, and also the Office of the Clerk, of course, each of us playing a role to help to sustain those proceedings, and I'm very grateful for everybody's hard work. Over the past few days, so many in our province, of course, have faced some very significant and dire impacts, weather-related impacts, and I also wanted to acknowledge our Legislative Facilities Services team who struggled in the early morning hours on Monday and Tuesday morning with leakage, both some water leakage in the East Annex as well as some flooding in a service area off of our ground floor. It took this team an incredible amount of effort to pump out the water from that area and deal with many challenges throughout the day. So I wanted to acknowledge and thank Surjit Denoda and Tucker Salto, who were on site from very early morning of Monday, and they've done a fantastic job. The team have also made a number of recommendations to ensure that we work towards a new pumping system, as well as adding some high water alarms to better monitor water levels and to ensure that we have a safe environment for all building occupants and staff. So it's a special thanks to both of them. As I mentioned, it's a busy time throughout the administration, and I know that members will be pleased to know that the Human Resources team has also been hard at work fulfilling the mandate that it received from your committee during the last budget cycle, with an emphasis on employee learning, training, professional development opportunities. And so the team has launched an exciting series of fall learning opportunities, and I encourage all Assembly administration staff to take advantage of those topics, which range from a variety of offerings related to mental health and wellness, respect at work, information and technology, range of opportunities there, including a new security awareness, a cybersecurity program as well that Andrew and I have communicated to members about already. The training offerings also include project management and professional and plain language writing and diversity, equity, and inclusion training. So a real breadth of offerings. I'm really grateful to Jamie Hanley and her team for bringing those forward. And finally, I'll just note, as I mentioned in a member's IT update just last week, the IT department is initiating a significant 18-month project focused on a constituency office network refresh. Andrew's here with us this afternoon. I wanted to thank him and his team for their work to ensure a better user experience for all members and constituency office staff when using Microsoft 365 applications and other productivity tools. Addressing issues of network stability is essential, of course, and really working to increase the overall security environment within our constituency offices. I know the project team has met with caucuses and look forward to keeping members updated throughout the course of that work. So really very much wanted to thank Andrew and that team as well for all of their work. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions from members, Mr. Chair, or we can proceed on with the agenda.
Any questions or discussion? None? Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to item number 4 on our agenda, policy non-compliance report. Kate, again, please take us through that, and Hillary may have to add
Yes.
into that later.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Hillary, as well. Hillary and I have presented here in the meeting materials a policy non-compliance report. That is an obligation that we both share under our policy framework to bring forward to your committee to ensure that your committee is aware of any instances of policy non-compliance within the Legislative Assembly administration. So this report covers 2 reporting periods, Q1 and Q2 for this fiscal year. There has been one instance of policy non-compliance with respect to our procurement and contract management policy. To the best of our knowledge, that is the only instance that we are obligated to bring forward to you. You'll note, and if required, we can provide further detail about the instance. There is the secondary page there. It provides some additional details on that matter, but because we wanted to ensure that members were able to be advised of the instance, but not to single out any individuals in departments responsible for such. We haven't provided any more identifying information at this point, but we're pleased to submit this relatively brief report to you. Hillary, did you want to add anything to that?
I don't think, other than we're just happy to see that there was just one instance in this. Of course, we want no instances, but
Right.
Just to have one is good.
Exactly. We're very pleased with that.
Okay. Any discussion? Any discussion or questions? None? Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Hillary. Okay, let's move on to item number 5, 2020-21 Q2 financial update. Mike is not here, but Hillary, can you please take us through it?
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Speaker. So this in front of you is the Q2 financial report. It provides the year-to-date and projected financial results for the 22-23 fiscal year. So as at September 30th, so 6 months into the year, halfway through, our operating expenses were projected to be $100,000 underspent. So essentially for operating on budget. While our capital expenditures were projected to be $1.5 million underspent. So that's from the first page. If I can get you to turn to page 2 of the report, you can see the next section essentially shows the forecast by department or functional area. So within operating expenses, there are several functional areas or departments projecting to be overspent by fiscal year end. These include members' constituency support, projected overspend of approximately $300,000. This is primarily due to higher than anticipated new constituency office lease agreements at higher rates and tenant improvement costs following the 2020 provincial general election. The next overspent department is Office of the Clerk, approximately $116,000 projected. This is primarily due to a new legal counsel position that was approved by this committee mid-year, and as well as higher than anticipated legal expenses. Finally, the other department that I will note is Information Technology. It's projecting to be overspent by approximately $2.3 million. This is primarily due to additional unbudgeted professional services costs related to agreement extensions and IT infrastructure related improvements. All of the noted budget overages have been accommodated within projected underspends in other assembly departments. The noted underspends are primarily a result of salary and benefit savings due to vacant positions, operational savings, and savings arising from delayed projects. So if we can turn to the next page, sorry, actually I should say page 5. I'm just going to speak briefly on capital expenditures. So as I noted, capital expenditures were projecting an underspend of approximately $1.5 million or 24% of the budget. The projected underspend includes anticipated underspend in capital contingencies. Unanticipated major capital project delays are contributing to that as well. That's in large part due to challenges in securing professional services and also some supply chain challenges arising from the COVID-19 pandemic. And in addition, there's a number of canceled planned projects. So that's what's contributing to that projected underspend to the end of the fiscal year. And following that, I'd be happy to take any specific questions on the report.
Any questions? Bob?
A couple of questions. Just, I appreciate that. Oh my God, this mask. One day we'll get rid of them. Right? Just in terms of some of the overage spend, especially on the technology side, I appreciate during COVID there was savings, and so we had this. I remember the sort of this underspend projected, and we seem to be getting closer to more of a balanced budget, so to speak. And my concern there is, considering the amount of savings that we had during COVID going into the following fiscals, are we anticipating similar kinds of overages in some of these areas, or is this more a bump because of the having to go through all the changes we've been through with technology, and we expect that to level out next year and the year after? Is that the hope?
Yeah, so that's the expected outcome. Of course, the budget that will be coming forward, I believe on December 16th, for consideration by this committee. You will see an increase, of course, in the IT department budget. For those can recall approval of the prior year budget, it was an estimated budget, but we were still, of course, refining some of those costs, and that's what you're seeing in this overages as we've refined what the budget expectations are. This is going to be closer to what we should expect in terms of IT infrastructure investments. Okay.
Anybody else?
I don't. I should. If Andrew wanted to comment on that, he may want to.
No. Thanks for your answer. Especially because we have all of the internet upgrades that are going on, and it just seems like there's these projects that keep coming, which are great, but they, I wasn't aware that we were going to be doing that until the projects started happening. Because are there other projects that are going to result in those kinds of cost pressures over time? That was my only kind of concern.
And I think in some cases, some of these costs, and then with the general provincial election in 2020, so some of those upgrades to constituency offices, so what you're seeing is some of the flow through also of those costs. And when the next year's budget comes, there will be some kind of continuation of those. But not all of the projects will be ongoing, so as we kind of move out, you will see some adjustments. So that's
Okay. So if no further discussion or question, I just want to tell the audience who may be listening to us that now that the committee has considered the Q2 financial update, it will be made available on the Legislative Assembly website tomorrow. Okay. So then let's move on to item number 6. Final costing for security enhancement and landscaping improvement project. Hillary, again.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So on March 31st, 2021, and in accordance with the Legislative Assembly's policy on capital project review and approval, Legislative Assembly Administration Management, we sought and received approval from this committee for additional capital funding for Phase 1 of the project in the following amounts. In fiscal 2020-21, we were seeking up to $250,000. In fiscal 2021-22, we were seeking $125,000. At the time of the approval, Legislative Assembly Administration Management committed to report back on the final cost for Phase 1 of the security enhancement and landscaping upgrade following completion of all the outstanding work. So in August 2021, the Legislative Assembly did issue its final payment to the associated vendors for this project and closed out Phase 1. So the funding for the Phase 1 of the project spanned a total of 3 fiscal years. The total project costs for Phase 1 of the project were $2.65 million, or 12.39% below the amended budget. As compared to the initial budget of $2.6 million, Phase 1 of the project was $50,319, or 1.9% over the initial approved amount. So there's a table on the document that was previously circulated that does show you the year-by-year comparison of actual to budget expenditures.
Any discussion? Any questions? Thanks, Hillary. All right, let's move to item number 7, formal approval of a decision of the committee made via email. Artur, please help us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is just seeking a formalization of a decision that the committee made via email. Members received an email from me on August 18th with respect to a new capital expenditure for caucus room audio-visual upgrades. So just to ensure policy compliance, this is the second time this year that we've brought this ratification process forward. This document is in its entirety. The briefing note is before members. It's also posted on our website under the meeting documents already for just transparency reasons, so that the public who may be interested in the committee's business is aware. I do just want to acknowledge the process questions that arose about when we seek decisions of the committee via this method, and in the governance framework that's now before the subcommittee on administration and operations, and hopefully will be coming forward to the committee early in the new year. We do have some parameters placed around that form of decision making that will hopefully address the concerns that were noted previously. So I just wanted to acknowledge that as well.
Okay, thank you, Artur. Any discussion? All right, so then we need a motion. It has been moved. Any seconder? Has been seconded. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 8, Legislative Assembly Administration Strategic Plan, and it's the recommendation from the Subcommittee on Administration and Operations. So Kate, please lead on that.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So members will have received in their packages today a briefing note for today's committee meeting, as well as a copy of a note prepared for the Subcommittee on Administration and Operations. And then the third sheet at the end of the package, it provides a more detailed update on the work of our strategic plan, the first strategic plan for the Legislative Assembly Administration as it is currently positioned. This work was undertaken following recommendations from a workplace review that took place, was issued a report in July 2020, has also been featured within our employee engagement process. And so it has been an initiative that we have worked for some time towards and aiming very much to have it reflect all of the unique aspects of this institution. Like other parliamentary institutions, we balance a respect for continuity and tradition and a commitment to serve our members with an innovative capacity to respond to new challenges. These are all characteristics that define any parliamentary institution, and it's really, I think, evident in the balance that forms the foundation of the strategic planning update, which I'm happy to present to you today. So as I said, the first initial strategic plan is a result of many hours of discussion and staff engagement to date, and its focus is very much on the administration, so on the supports that we provide to members of the Legislative Assembly. It also sets out some long-term goals for the Assembly as an institution and identifies some of the initial priorities that we hope will shape not only the fiscal year ahead and the resulting budget, but also address some key risks in our organization. So just specifically looking at the teal page in your package, I'll just speak briefly to some of the core elements of this initial strategic plan. The plan opens, of course, with a statement of our purpose, why we exist, who we serve, and the impact that we hope to achieve. So it states that we support, of course, the Legislative Assembly of British Columbia and its members in providing services and infrastructure vital to an accessible democratic institution. So that is really our overarching purpose statement. The 5 principles that follow very much define the Legislative Assembly administration, explaining who we are and what matters to us, and those are the values of service, excellence, impartiality, openness, integrity, and stewardship. So these represent our commitment, our shared commitment of the Legislative Assembly administration to members who we serve, and the foundation upon we strive to achieve our goals. The 3 goals on the right-hand side of the page define our long-term success and describe what it means to us to fulfill our organizational purpose. And so it's very much focused around organizational excellence. We strive to provide unified, innovative, and seamless services and resources and advice that enables the Legislative Assembly and its members to fulfill their respective roles in parliamentary democracy. We have as well a commitment, a goal with respect to our healthy workplace commitments, striving to be a model employer in the province. And as a top employer, our employees are inspired to contribute, innovate, and collaborate using their diverse skills and perspectives to deliver excellent services as part of a learning organization. Finally, you'll note a goal with respect to open access, which speaks to our commitment to accessibility, safety, and security, very much reflecting the view that, as I know that many members share, that this institution is the people's house, both the setting and the process. The goal reads that we provide a welcoming and safe and inclusive physical and digital environment to enable and improve public access to the Legislative Assembly parliamentary proceedings, as well as the precinct buildings and grounds. So with those three elements expected to remain relatively constant, we're now working towards refinement of the initial priorities and actions that will shape the full launch of the strategic plan in conjunction with the new fiscal year. So the budget team, for example, has been really focused on assessing all of the requests for enhancements, investments within the organization with a view to achieving the goals and priorities that's as set out here. The initial priorities we have also had an opportunity to incorporate into our caucus engagement sessions in terms of our budget planning this fall. And so the themes that we anticipate will help to shape the budget submission that will go to the Subcommittee on Finance and Audit and then to this committee, and help focus our activities in the year ahead are aligned with enhancing organizational capacity, investing in a modern, secure, and sustainable infrastructure, and promoting engagement, diversity, equity, inclusion, and learning within our staff. So those are the foundational pieces. As I've mentioned, the budget team has been hard at work to ensure that there is an alignment between the priorities as outlined in this initial strategic plan, and we really are very much focused on aligning them, I hope, with the needs of our members through our commitment to that goal with respect to organizational excellence. So we look forward to continuing a discussion with you and members of the Subcommittee on Finance and Audit in the year ahead, particularly around refining our risk management profile, a summary of risks that the organization faces, and just to ensure that there is ultimately an alignment between the strategic plan, the budgetary investments, and the risk summary reports that help to inform and shape our work. With your support, we will be bringing back to this committee a completed multi-year plan to be launched in April of 2022 along the fiscal year cycle that will also be integrated with the budgetary investments that you'll have an opportunity to review in the weeks ahead. Because it is intended very much to be a departmental-wide initiative throughout the organization, we anticipate further commitment and engagement with employees as we refine and move forward towards implementing the plan. And then, of course, also measuring and reporting out on our successes to you as well. So with that, I'm pleased to present that overview and happy to take any questions from members this afternoon.
Any discussion? No questions? So if not, then may I have a member moving the motion, please? Moved, seconded, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 9. Legislative precinct parking policy. Arthur, can please walk us through it?
I know, Mr. Chair, that this is a favorite topic for so many people. I promise there are no surprises in this policy. It reflects the decisions that have been made over the course of the past year or so. I will note that it was brought to my attention that the maps are difficult to read and navigate, so we are going to work on the appendices, the 4 appendices in the map, and have them redrawn. But that's just an administrative thing that we'll take care of afterwards. But as I said, I don't think there are any surprises in this draft policy. I think it received very favorable consideration by the subcommittee, so the recommendation from the subcommittee now stands referred to the committee, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any question?
Move its adoption.
Okay, it's been moved, seconded, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Artur. item number, item number 10, 2020-21 financial statements. Kate and Hillary, please take us through that.
Thank you. I'll invite Hillary to lead the committee through the financial statements as presented to this committee, but I will at the outset express appreciation to Hillary, to Michael Birch, the Director of Financial Services, and the audit team from the Office of the Auditor General. There is always a great deal of work that goes into preparing information both for production within the financial statements is led by management here at the Legislative Assembly, as well as working closely with the audit team. We're very pleased to anticipate a clean audit opinion to accompany these financial statements and look forward to making these a public document in due course. But many thanks to all involved. And Hillary, I welcome your comments as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So as Kate mentioned, our financial statements are audited annually by the Office of the Auditor General. That is the Legislative Assembly's designated external auditor. No major findings were identified as part of this financial statement audit, and as Kate has said, we are expecting that the Auditor General will be issuing a clean audit opinion on these financial statements. I thought I'd just briefly highlight some of the year-over-year or financial results for the committee. With respect to financial results for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2021, the net cost of operations for Vote 1 was $77.9 million, or $7.1 million lower than the budget of $85 million, and $1.5 million higher than the actual spending in the prior year, being fiscal year 2019-2020. Costs relating to the October 2020 provincial general election were accommodated within the Legislative Assembly's budget, although not specifically budgeted for. The Assembly also incurred $4.7 million in capital expenditures. That was an increase of $1.5 million as compared to 2019-20. However, an underspend of $1.3 million in comparison to the budget of $6 million. The financial assets themselves did not change significantly from the prior year, and financial liabilities increased as a result of the transitional assistance liability for former members following the 2020 provincial general election. In the materials that was provided to you, you received the financial statements themselves. And in addition, we included the management and discussion and analysis document that essentially provides more detail on the year-over-year variances and projected costs, and just sometimes an easier read than walking through financial statements. The one thing I would like to add is that I did circulate just previous to this meeting. There is one change to the financial statements. That's in note 18. That is the subsequent events note. So a subsequent event occurs if something happens after an organization's year-end period, but before the financial statements have been released. So the financial statements essentially remain open. So even though the financial period ended March 31st, 2021, we are open until today's date, at which the anticipated sign-off and approval by this committee of the financial statements. So essentially during that period, we needed to update the subsequent events note to address the recent ratification of the new collective agreement between the BC NDP MLAs, the constituency assistants, and the BC Government and Service Employees Union, the BCGEU. Just want to point out there were no other changes to the financial statements, and the updated note 18 will be incorporated into the financial statements following this evening's meeting. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Okay, if not, then the motion that we have to move is the financial statements of the Legislative Assembly for the year ending March 31st, 2021 be approved as amended. Moved, seconded, all in favor, opposed, carried. Now, we have some other items. May I have a motion to proceed in camera to consider commercial interest and personal matters, please. It's been moved, seconded, all in favor, opposed, carried. So, some weeks ago, I sent a copy of the mandate letter that I drafted for the head clerk, sent it to you all, for your review, your comments, so I haven't received any. I take it was okay as it was, although we will be having another one next year. So if that's the case, then, we would make it.
Yeah, we can table it
We
today.
will table it
Part of
today.
the committee's
and
documents from this
becomes
meeting.
part of the committee's proceedings. Thank you. Okay, any other business? None? Motion to adjourn. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Thank you all.